fellow viewers, and welcome to today's edition of the JCTR Corner, a program brought to you by the Jesuit Center for Theological Reflection in conjunction with Loyola TV. As you may be aware, Parliament resumed sitting last week, and one of the issues that are being tabled is the controversial issue of the Bill 10. In the studio today on the program, as we discuss this controversial topic of the Bill 10, I am joined by Ms. Judith Mulenga from the Zambia Civic Education Association. Am I right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you so much. Ms. Mulenga, welcome to the program. Once again, this is Annette from JCTR. How are you and how is survival in this new normal?
Fine, thank you, Annette, and thanks for having me.
Okay.
Well, I'm surviving. The Lord is good all the time. So,
Okay, that's great.
It's good.
Would you like to briefly introduce yourself, who you are and what you do at JCTR?
Okay, my name is Judith Mulenga, and I'm currently the Executive Director at Zambia Civic Education Association. And Zambia Civic Education Association is a member of the Civil Society Constitution Agenda, and I'm the Vice Chairperson of CISCA as well.
Oh, wow,
So,
that's great.
discussing Bill 10 here, I'm actually wearing two hats.
Okay, so
Yes.
you have the heart of CISCA on one hand and the heart of ZCEA
Yes,
on the other hand.
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
sure.
thank you so much for that introduction, Ms. Mulenga. So tell me, what are the key features of Bill 10 and what makes it so controversial?
Okay, Bill 10 it's patterned on the actual Constitution. It's taken parts of the Constitution, and there have been amendments to it, and it's called the Constitution Amendment of 2019. And essentially, it contains amendments of the lacunas that were identified. In this case, it could be the way the provision is couched, or perhaps maybe it was ambiguous in trying to make it unambiguous, but it also has insertions of new provisions, and these are the ones that have raised the controversy, hence the hat it wears of being a controversial bill. Essentially that's what it is. So if you're reading the bill, you're actually following the way the Constitution is, except for Part 3 of the Constitution, which is the Bill of Rights, which is not touched, because for the Bill of Rights to change, you need a referendum. Okay. And of course, the referendum that was held in 2016 to improve the Bill of Rights, the referendum fell through because the first threshold, according to the same Constitution, is that for a referendum to be successful, you need about 50 plus 1 eligible voters, not registered, eligible voters. Yeah. And that is where the referendum fell through, because after the counting of the votes, and of course it was found that less than 50% of eligible voters had not voted. Okay. Yeah, so that's why it fell through. So except for for Part 3, the rest is exactly the way the Constitution is placed out. First, it does establish the sovereignty of our state and how we consider the Constitution, which is the supremacy of the land. And then it goes on to talk about principles like economic principles. Then it goes on, I didn't see much on citizenship, but I could have missed one. And then it goes on to look at Parliament, the Constitution of Parliament, the executive, the judiciary, and then the service commissions. And that's what Bill 10 is about.
There's a lot of misinformation about this bill. We have the proponents and opponents of the same bill. What would be the main message that the proponents of Bill 10 are trying to bring out?
The proponents of Bill 10 are saying that Bill 10 is going to improve the governance of this country. And in fact, one time, if I may be paraphrasing, but the Minister of Justice was actually quoted like, if it's not passed, it will bring a lot of misery in this country. Then the opponents of Bill 10, such as CISCA and Zambia Civic Education Association, we are saying that Bill 10 is going to undermine our democracy, remove the doctrine of the separation of powers and actually vest. It's going to reverse all, all the gains that were made in the 2016 amended constitution, where most of the powers that were taken from the executive and the president and put either placed under the National Assembly or in the judiciary, those are going to be removed and then vested back. And so it seems like we're going back, because one of the things that we wanted to see, that Zambians have always wanted to see, from the beginning of all these commissions on the constitution, such as, the Mvunga, Mwanakatwe, NCC and all these, is that the Mungomba constitution is that, they want the unfettered powers that a president has to be reduced so that it's evenly distributed among the three branches of government. So, and then when you look at some of the changes, first of all, it's supposed to be an amendment. So what we expected was perhaps, experts will sit and say, okay, how do we make it? It's been claimed that our constitution is very talkative, meaning it puts a lot in it. So maybe to remove those talkative, but leaving the principles and, the principles and then the talkativeness to the subsidiary legislations. But what we found is that the principles have been left hanging and given a lot of power to subsidiary laws, which is made by Parliament. For example, the whole constitution, the whole composition and election of Parliament itself, it's talking about mixed representation. And if you look at the draft report, the final draft report of the technical committee to review the constitution that was set up by the late President Sata, if you look at that report, it does speak to a mixed members representation, but it gives the principles in there. So you're not left not knowing how this representation will be. So in fact, when that is the crux of the matter, and that's why that's where most of the experts, are afraid, because the doctrine of the separation of powers has the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. Now, yes, the executive does state what powers they have, the composition, so does the judiciary. And then the legislative is left hanging with just a heading. It will be a mixed members presentation. Anything else, look at the lower law, subsidiary law, an ordinary act of Parliament. So that is what is making most of us, opponents very fearful, because the legislature is a structure of the Constitution. And so if left on its own, and the ones who are going to be making the laws are the same members of Parliament about how they regulate themselves, and the members of Parliament, because of the separation of powers, where we have, which is not completely pure, because you have MPs that are also ministers.
Okay.
So that makes already the separation of powers weak, because you have the same individual, Judith Mulenga, sitting in Parliament as well as a minister, so that becomes difficult. So at any one given time, what is Judy Mulenga's, what is she wearing? Which hat is bigger? Is that of an MP? Is that of a minister? Who is in the executive? So already that is weak. And now we weaken the separation of powers by having this undefined legislature.
Okay.
Then there are also other things that have been pushed in Bill 10 that make us worried. For example, the economic principles. It says, the Constitution says that the National Assembly would approve ratification of international agreements, right? So the executive takes it to the legislature for approval. That approval has been removed, which means that if the executive wants to get out of certain agreements that may be disagreeable to them, but not necessarily disagreeable to us, the ordinary citizens. You know, the National Assembly cannot stop them doing that. For example, there was an effort where there was some commission on whether Zambia needs to stay in the International Criminal Court. It went round, the majority say they wanted it to stay. With that provision now, the executive can decide, we're coming out of the International Criminal Court, and there's no one to stop that. Then there is also the issue of, you know, appropriation of property that is suspected or believed to have been gained as proceeds of a crime.
Yeah.
And that part of it is there, but there is a proviso which says that according to the customary international law, which has been removed in 10. Now, we all live in Zambia. We hear rumors of theft. We hear rumors of, you know, corruption, looting.
Right. Yeah.
You know, we've had 48 houses building themselves. We hear rumors of, you know, people with power stashing millions, buying property out of Zambia. If Bill 10 passes, the next government cannot bring back that property back to Zambia where it belongs, because international law that provides for that in the constitution, it's been removed.
Okay.
So there's been a lot of hullabaloo about deputy ministers, about coalition government, but there are also other subtle changes that could fundamentally change the way, you know, our government, our governance. So if you look at, for example, the judiciary, the Constitutional Court, according to the 2016 Constitution, the Constitutional Court was given the powers to interpret any kind of, misunderstanding and to arbitrate anything to do with the Constitution. But now, most of that power has been removed from the Constitutional Court and placed, and the Constitutional Court has been left mainly with dealing with the Bill of Rights, issues of human rights. So they've removed some of them, a little bit has stayed, but quite a bigger chunk of the Constitutional Court powers have been removed.
Quite a power-packed explanation, Ms. Mulenga, and thank you so much for bringing out some of the issues that you think are not good for the Zambian people. Well, viewers, you're on the JCTR Corner, and today we're looking at Bill 10. In the studio, I'm joined by Ms. Judith Mulenga from the Zambia Civic Education Association. Yeah. Ms. Mulenga, now I wanted to find out from you. We just read a few days ago to say the Honorable Minister, Honorable Given Luinda, gazetted the bill. What are some of the implications of this particular act to the Zambian people?
Yeah, the minister himself, is on record as having said on ZNBC that he has done unprecedented. What he has done is unprecedented. Okay. Okay, meaning it's never been done before. So, what are the implications? Like Zambians are they've experienced a procedure that has never happened before. And members of parliament, the Law Association of Zambia, they've come out and said what the minister has done is unconstitutional. So the implications of the gazetting, I'm really puzzled as what it is for, because it's unprocedural, and he has admitted that it's unprecedented. But he followed it up. He qualified it with saying it's unprecedented, but because I want to stop those skeptics so that they believe in our sincerity. And I think for us who are opposed to Bill 10, this is the other crux of the matter. It's that when you are making a constitution, there has to be, it's not an option, there has to be a meeting of the minds. There has to be consensus building. The Constitution says, we the people of Zambia give unto ourselves this Constitution. And whether it's a bad provision or one that may not stand the test of time, as long as we are all agreed this is what we want, we can take it as such, the consensus. It's the way we want to be governed. So it's not the way the government in power of the day wants the country to be governed. No, it's not. So the building of the consensus has been missed right from the beginning. And that is why at a certain time the church mother bodies decided to be the facilitators. Yeah. And they started a process. They came out with a roadmap, so to bring people together. And this has happened before. In 1991, it was the church mother bodies that brought the UNIP government to the ones agitating for a multi-party democracy. But this was not done. And it says we are a Christian nation, and Bill 10 says we're going to live by Christian principles. Now, I know that, one of the values of Christian is that if I'm going to be before the Lord and I realize that, Aneta and I are not on talking terms, what does the Christian principles tell us? I have to leave my sacrifice at the altar. And go back to Annette and say, my daughter, can we discuss so that we can? But we saw at the NDF, when the church mother bodies stayed away, and other people and other sectors had stayed away, and yet we saw clergy escorting, I can't remember who they were escorting, whether it was the Minister of Justice himself, coming into that hall, celebrating this National Dialogue Forum, which was boycotted by a number of people. So that is an issue. We need to build consensus, because once we build consensus, we build loyalty towards that document, and we build legitimacy. That document also has legitimacy. If you come up, you force your way, and people are not interested, then the Constitution, instead of regulating the way we live, is going to become a top shelf document.
Okay, just there, Ms. Mulenga, kindly hold your thought. Let us just go for a short break, and then you come and continue the explanation, this wonderful explanation that you're giving us right now. Well, viewers, for now we just go for a short break. Please do join us on the other side as we continue looking at the issue of Bill 10. See you soon.
To advertise on this program and enjoy amazing introductory rates, please call us on +260 211 290959 or +260 211 290912 or +260 953 538 000, or send us an email at loyolazam@gmail.com.
Welcome back to the JCTR Corner. Today we're looking at the issue of Bill 10, and in the studio I'm joined by Ms. Judith Mulenga from the Zambia Civic Education Association. Ms. Mulenga, before the break you were just talking about the implications that could come with gazetting of the bill, and you're looking at consensus building. Maybe if you can just pick it up from there as you explain this particular point. Also, I would like to find out from you, the majority of civil society is saying that this bill is actually not good for the Zambian people. The majority of the Zambians have rejected the bill. How then do you know that they have rejected the bill? Did you go to them? Did you ask them? What do they want? Do you have an idea of what particular constitution they would like to see in place?
Okay. Okay. My response is this. First of all, if you look at the genesis. Sorry, okay. Yeah. The genesis, yeah, I remember I'm in a religious studio. Genesis of our constitution now is a technical committee that was set up by President Michael Sata. Okay. And that technical committee, first of all, one of the jobs it did was to synthesize all the constitution-making processes since independence. But they were given a task to make the Mungomba Constitution report the basis, but and what they needed to do was to bring into our constitution all the provisions that Zambians had consistently submitted what they want to see in the constitution. So there is a report, and it's from this report that the final draft was done. So you are asking us as CISCA civil society, where do we get this?
Yes.
We haven't got the human resource and the funds to go around the country. But we have all those Constitution Commission reports. We have the technical committee reports, which went round. After it synthesized, it came up with the first draft. Then it went round the countries and consulted. They went back to the people and consulted from district level, provincial level,
Up to national level.
up to national level. And no stakeholder, and for me this is the crux, no stakeholder boycotted that. Everyone was there. So which means that consensus, prior to the 2016 was there. The only place where we differed was the issue of adopting the constitution, because the PF government came up and said what we had known was that the constitution, the new constitution, will be adopted wholesale by a referendum.
Okay.
Then from nowhere, no, we are going to only leave the controversial provisions to the referendum, which includes, of course, Bill 10, because Bill of Rights, because you can't change it. Then the rest we can do it in Parliament. After all, it's our role to enact laws. And even if after the referendum, the bill will still come back to Parliament for enactment and everything. And we argued, we said, look, the constitution-making process is not a battle. Let's not fight it. It's supposed to be a celebration, because there's supposed to be meeting of the minds. After the meeting of the minds, like I said before, then giving unto ourselves is just a celebration. Like, look, we've come up with something that we really want. So that didn't happen, okay? So now, for us to know what the people wanted, all I have to do is go to the technical committee report as civil society and look at what is there. Then we hear the different stakeholders. LAS makes a statement, opposition political parties make a statement, who are very clear, because they have, followers. They make a statement. Others, church mother bodies make statements and so on. If you look at all these, if you analyze, you find that there are more nays than yeas to build 10. But most importantly, it's not our job as civil society to go around the country and consult. It's the government's job. They came up with that. So one of the principles... But
if you say it's not your job to go around and talk to the people, don't you think as civil society you have a bigger role to play when it comes to advocating for something?
Oh yeah, advocating, yes. But civic education, information dissemination, it's the government. One of the principles of coming up with a constitution is its popular sovereignty, meaning the constitution must be known. Must be known. What is in there must be known. So if you, as the government, is coming up with this, you need to ensure that there is enough human resource, enough budget lines to go around and sell this to the people. And perhaps if they had done that, the people will be more in the know, and they may not be misinformed, quote unquote, as now the government is claiming to be. Civil society, we have a role to play in disseminating information, but I've said we are limited by human resource. We are limited by funding. So we have certain constituents that we meet with. Those we inform them about what is in the bill. We inform them about things that are in Bill 10 that may affect them individually. I mean, for example, the current constitution gives me and you, Annette, the power as a citizen to challenge a statutory instrument. Through the courts of law. You go to and say, the minister has come up with this statutory instrument. I think it's inimical to Zambia or to us as the people. I challenge it. That power has been removed. Okay? Now, in the same constitution, there are certain public officers, and there are ways of appointing them, there are ways of removal. Now, almost all these important positions, service.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, important, There's always been, this person can be removed from being this position due to physical, mental capacity and others. Bill 10 has removed physical and mental capacity and has left legal through a legal procedure. Now, what about medical? You know, because when it was physical and mental, you needed to bring in doctors, medical people, who can examine Ms. Mulenga and certify that her mental capacity has diminished due to this, and therefore, because of that, she's not able to carry out. But if you are going to institute a legal process to remove Ms. Mulenga from that position, you are actually saying that you are locking up that position to Ms. Mulenga. We know how long judicial process is. And judicial, they are going to look at it from a legal point of view. Yes, they may maybe consult medical doctors, but what was the mischief? Why did they remove this? So, you know, there's been this whole collision and everything, but there are quite a number of others, very subtle. And if you remember, all those issues that became problematic to the executive after the 2016 elections, they've been removed. You know, the issue of, you know, ministers having to pay back the money they used because they were working unconstitutionally. Yeah. They haven't paid back. The court has ruled. We are supposed to be a country of the rule of law. The court has ruled. They've not paid back. But they've removed that. How have they removed that? A minister will remain in power until election day. So they've taken out all those that may be inimical to them, but that may be costly to you and me.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Mulenga. Coming down to this other question, I would like to find out what would be your comment on complaints that those rejecting Bill 10 are not given the voices or the platform to speak out what really they want and what they want to hear, because it is believed that the ruling party only wants to hear from people who are actually supporting the bill itself.
I don't think that's really true. Because if that was the case, you and I would not be having this conversation.
Exactly.
Yes, so that's not true. Except that, you know, we would not be having this conversation using public media houses. Okay. That would not be, you know, that is, we are just never asked those questions. But we are allowed to, except, of course, nowadays you see that if we had to go maybe to, you know, radio stations outside Lusaka, we may have the DC, like happened in Mpika, coming up and saying, please leave, because now it's COVID time. Yeah. Another sort of thing that is in Bill 10 that people are not talking about. You know, there's a clause that talks about political parties and their formation and their role. And the first clause 1, spoke to a political party has the right to disseminate information about economic and other, you know, economic, social and other, you know, plans or, you know, plans that they have. That has been removed. Why am I not surprised? Because since PF came into power, they've been refusing political parties to have that space to disseminate their economic and other development plans. And it's removed from Bill 10. That part is removed. So when you actually read it, it's not just about, you know, the coalition government, or that's why a lot of sectors, after reading it, they would want to support it, but you come out and you say, no, this is fundamentally changing the way we govern ourselves. So yes, we are allowed to speak to a certain extent, and we are having this discussion now, but we cannot go on public media, which we should, because we pay taxes. And sometimes we are attacked by, PF cadres, or even a civil servant like a district commissioner can stop your discussion because they don't think it puts the government in good light. But a good government needs to listen, especially to dissenting views, because that's what builds the government. A lot of people think when we speak like this, we don't like the government. That's not true. In fact, it's because we speak like this that shows that we actually are appreciative, of that we have a government in place. So they should listen when we say we are not happy.
Okay, thank you so much. So as civil society, speaking on behalf of the Zambian people, what should be the way forward about Bill 10, and what recommendations would you like to give to the people or the government out there? Okay,
withdraw the bill. Don't gazette it. It's been, the minister himself has said, he's done something unprecedented.
Okay.
And for me, that excuse, I'm going to use not a very nice analogy, but it's like, perpetrators of gender-based violence. They always say, oh, she made me beat her up because she's so cheeky. She made me shoot her because I found her texting her boyfriend, That kind of excuse. I've been made to commit a crime because she was doing something. Okay. Or, better still, since we are in Loyola TV, Adam, when he was asked by God, what have you done? The woman you gave me made me eat
the fruit that
you've been taking away responsibility from yourselves. These people have been pushing, so we are gazetting. So, recommendation, withdraw the bill. Go back to the drawing board. Yes, you've tried. Today, I think I read somewhere where the Minister of Justice was saying, we can't withdraw. We've spent so much time on it. If you had listened, yes, that time would have been worthwhile. I always say to people, look, if I'm trying to go to Kitwe and I start off going down after Kafue roundabout, it doesn't matter how long I drive, I'll not be in Kitwe because I'm on the wrong route. And this is what the government did. So, and they should just withdraw, take it to neutral people. Like, I don't even know whether I can even say neutral now, but the clergy are normally, regarded as neutral, but this country is so polarized on ethnicity, on political divide. Now, there is no sector that has been left not intact. So we need to really re-look at ourselves, I mean, when you read Butane and say we're going to live by Christian principles, how can we claim we are Christians? You saw what happened during gassing. People were being stoned to death. We're being killed for having suspected to be gassers. Which Christians do that? Which Christ are they following?
Well, Ms. Mulenga, I know you have a lot to talk about, but time is not on our side and we have to come to the end of the show.
Never on our side.
Time is never on our side. Unfortunately, we have to cut it right here and now. I would like to thank you so much for making an appearance on the program. Thank you so much for your time. Well, viewers, thank you for staying tuned with us. This has been the JCTR Corner with me, Annette Mulenga. And in the studios, I was joined by Ms. Mulenga from the Zambia Civic Education Association. Until next time, it's goodbye for now.